Party, the MPP, we do not wish for John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency, to fail. You know, when my boss, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, conceded on the fateful Sunday after the election, he addressed the nation, and in that address, he made a statement, and that was quite instructive. He said, "We are not going to be a destructive opposition." Essentially, what he was communicating was that we want to see Ghana do well in the next 4 years. We want Ghana to attain some growth in the next 4 years. So certainly, we don't need Mahama to fail to come back. We can still work hard, present our case and our ideas to Ghanaians, and be able to come back. Ghanaians have a right to say that, yes, John Mahama has done well, but we feel that at this point, we want to go on a particular direction, and the MPP is the political party that can take us on that direction. So the whole idea that as a political party, we must necessarily work extremely hard for Mahama to fail so we can come back to power, for me, it's archaic and it must not be encouraged. I'm saying that to lay the foundation for the argument I want to make. You see, the NDC went to the good people of Ghana to demand for the powers or for the ability or the decision for Ghanaians to run this country. When they went to Ghanaians, they presented a manifesto. And the manifesto, arguably, was of ideas of things they want to do to make Ghana a better place for all of us. There was nowhere in the manifesto that said that when they come, they want to seek revenge of the things MPP did to them. Alikem, if there was, you can correct me. There was absolutely nowhere in that manifesto that indicated that give us power so we can revenge what the MPP did to us.
In fact, on the contrary, the manifesto talks about reset, which is let's do things differently.
Exactly.
Yeah, on the contrary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is imperative for members of the NDC to understand, and understand rightfully so, that the mandate given to John Dramani Mahama and then Madam Jane Nana Opoku Ajiman is for them to make our lives better, not to seek revenge. And then when you raise this point of seeking revenge, you know, my brother Lekim skillfully did it. He did it skillfully. But the other people, they will just go and find videos and screenshots and stories of what the NPP did. Yes, the NPP and members of the NPP engaged in excesses in 2017. It was on the back of these excesses that we all said we should what? Enact a law called the Vigilante Act. So we enacted the Vigilante Act to curb these excesses. And that came from pressure from the civil society, from NDC, from John Mahama, that look, enough is enough. We can no longer have these excesses. Therefore, let's enact a law to curb it. We enacted the law, and arguably, we haven't experienced any of such things until the election or post-elections. And we've had all these acts of violence, all these acts of takeover, and all these acts of this individual doesn't belong here and must not be here. Yesterday, young people of the NDC besieged the premises of GRA. Their argument is that they don't want the CEO, so they want him out. That is not the promise you made to Ghanaians, Elekem. It's not, and I'm glad at least you have condemned that path of doing things. You must stick to the promise you made to Ghanaians, which promise was, we are going to make your lives better. We are going to ensure that food prices go down. We have food security. We are going to ensure that we have economic stability. We are going to ensure that we create jobs. Those were the promises. So when I see a letter from the chief of staff going to various government agencies demanding that they provide a list of Ghanaians who were employed, emphasis on Ghanaians, who were employed post December 7th, it begs the question, to do what?
You mean the payroll data?
The payroll data. To do what? It's an example of what the young people are doing on the streets, except this is done in a refined manner. What the chief of staff, Julius Debra, is doing is equivalent to what the young people are doing, going into various state institutions and demanding that people shouldn't be there, except that he is doing it with a pen. My point is, you were voted to come and fix our problems, to give us jobs, to give us peace of mind. Look, I have been a diplomat, so I know what goes into providing security for this country. I have been in meetings where decisions are taken to make sure the three of us can sit here peacefully and do what we are doing. You know, one thing I agree with Elikim on is this. Look, I will not take a position from John Dramani Mahama. And I would not do so not because I'm not competent. I have multiple backgrounds, stemming 17 years of professional experience as a young man, because I started working in corporate America at a very young age, 17 years. But I will not take a position from John Dramani Mahama because I campaigned against his vision. I mounted podiums and platforms to say that I don't believe in his vision. So if you are an MPP person or a person appointed by the MPP, it can be safely assumed that you were against his vision. So how can you be against somebody's vision and then once the person comes to power, you want to maintain power or you want to stay in power? So Elikim, that is where you have to take the argument from. The argument must be taken from the angle that President Mahama campaigned with a message, and he has to execute that message. And he can only execute that message with people who believe in that message. See, competence is one thing, but you cannot execute something you don't believe in. And that is what, as young people, as members of the NDC, you must champion. That it shouldn't be because somebody closed down a station. He closed down a station. What did Radio Go do for the station to be closed? Nobody has stated that issue. It's always, he closed the station. Was it only Radio Go that was closed? Why was Radio Go closed? What was the offense? You haven't delved into that. Oh, he closed radio station. Was he the decision maker or was he the implementer? If he's an officer of the company and the board and management takes a decision to close Radio Gold, and it is his job to go and close it, even if he's NDC, he will go and close it unless he doesn't want to keep his job. Is that not so? So it's not enough to say that he closed Radio Gold. And Elikim even alluded to it, that it may have been his job to do that. And I agree. In fact, I believe very well that it was his job to do that. So let's separate the issues. Now, if there is evidence that Reverend Franco is an MPP person, then I will totally agree. Totally agree. Because you cannot execute a vision you don't believe in. You cannot. Let's not mince words. You cannot execute a vision you don't believe in. But if he's not an NDC, an MPP person, and he's a technocrat, a technical person with the right expertise, and he was only executing his job, then what really is his crime? The other gentleman from VRA, Kenzo, I don't know him. I've never met him.
So in the case of Fianco, I think that one of the arguments that I've heard people make is that after listening to the concerns that were raised by the NDC at the time when Radio Gold and XYZ were closed down, remember that it wasn't just NDC that was against the closure of Radio Gold and XYZ. We had
Civil Society,
Media Foundation for West Africa. There was the Imanis of this world, and so on. There were some other CSOs who felt that it was a bit high-handed. Now, the argument, as I've heard from reading on social media and listening to some of the commentaries and the expressions or the commentaries that are being made, or the arguments that are being made on media, some media platforms, both traditional and new media, which is social media, is that if indeed Engineer Reverend Fianco was in principle against the closure of these media stations because he felt that the grounds or the basis upon which these media houses were going to be closed down were unacceptable, he could have, as a matter of principle, resigned his position and said, look, I cannot do this. Now, whether or not that kind of expectation will be fair to him or not is another conversation we can have. But they will tell you that if Mr. Fianco had resigned from his position as whatever when he was at NCA, today the party people wouldn't have a problem rewarding him for taking those principle stands. So I don't know what you make of that kind of argument.
Look, let's stop measuring people with a yardstick that we will not even measure ourselves with.
Right.
How many NDC people will quit a job or resign because they were told to do something
they disagreed with?
How many people will do that? The man has family. We all go to our workplaces. There are aspects of our jobs that we may not necessarily align with our management, but we may have to execute that particular assignment. Emphasis on that particular assignment. A board has taken a decision, and that's why I said, if there is evidence to suggest that Mr. or Reverend Fianco did what he did on the basis of political allegiance, then certainly, first of all, he has no business being there.
Okay.
Sitting on NCA and taking political decisions. NCA is not a political outfit. If there is evidence that he's a politician, he's an MPP person, I will be the first, and I've just said it here. In fact, I've said it at other platforms, that our people at various institutions who were appointed politically, you took that role because you believed in Nanado's vision. And you are likely to have campaigned against John Dramani Mahama because you didn't believe in his vision. On that basis, you must do the needful thing, step aside so people who believe in that vision come on board and help him execute. This is not just a Ghanaian thing. It's a global phenomenon. Look, there are individuals who are even hired on corporate boards and hired as corporate CEOs who will step aside because of a decision that they don't believe in.
Ideological differences.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about technical implementation. I'm talking about ideological position.
I get it.
So somebody may say, oh, but you just said Fianco. Fianco's had a technical decision to implement. That's different from ideological position of a corporate entity.
And that's why, I get it. And that's why you think that it must be a bit more, the analysis of the situation must be a bit more nuanced.
Far nuanced.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Than just, because he's implemented something and so it makes him an enemy of, But the thing about it is that usually when emotions are concerned, people don't have a lot of time to have these kinds of conversations.
Exactly. But let's not forget that NCA, the boss himself has resigned.
Yes, Joe Anochi himself
has resigned.
Yes.
So that tells you Joe Anochi believes in the point that I'm making.
Right.
He realizes that he doesn't believe in Mahama's vision.
I don't belong here.
In fact, he has campaigned against Mahama's vision.
I get it.
So he stepped aside. Samia Oku has done it. YE has done it. Just a few days ago, Akwasi Awuah at PMMC worked with Sami Jemfi, stepped aside, gave him all the support. That is how it ought to be.
But these things have a way of just putting a lot of pressure on civil and public servants. Because if some decisions are being taken and it's going to hurt the other party, even if I'm a member of that political party, because I work in that institution, I will be blamed someday for those decisions that have been taken by that institution I work with, even if I may not be fully responsible for it. It's going to put a lot of our public servants, especially those who are aspiring for, certain positions once there's change of power. But I think that we
So let me wrap up on this, Moro.
So that we can move to
just very quickly, let me wrap up on this.
Okay.
Look, the NDC must get this and get it clear. Ghana belongs to all of us. It was a decision that at this material moment, we feel, and we can argue so, that Ghanaians voted because they feel your ideas are superior or they are angry at MPP at a higher level, not at a granular, well-analyzed level. Just, we can assume that. So you have been given the mandate to rule. 1, take away vengeance. Take away revenge. That is not why you have been voted for. 3, take away the hooliganism. Look at what happened in Obuasi.